get in, because that's the statement everybody uses now. Come on in, come on. I'm not doing all that. Let's take a minute to have a huge discussion around just turning off something really quickly so that way I don't have any distractions while I'm having a conversation with you all. Let's have a huge conversation around my post yesterday. So I want to be very clear about what I'm going to say in this conversation. So in this conversation, this is not to cast aspersions on a lot of people that were mentioned in the commentary, right? So in part of the commentary, there were people that were mentioned, such as Bishop-elect Marvin Winans and Bishop Ivy Hilliard. Those are individuals that were mentioned when we talked about my honest question about where this whole the whole cross wearing on, large chain cross wearing on the hip kind of thing, and that's being done primarily, excuse me, by bishops. So let's put this where this is. And again, I want to make sure that you're very clear. This is not to cast aspersions on Bishop Marvin L. Winans or Bishop-elect Marvin L. Winans or Bishop Ivy Hilliard. So I've seen them do it, and I was like, but now it's a prevailing thing amongst episcopates. And so we got to kind of put context around this. And there's a larger context I want to talk about, but I'm not going to be on here long. Let's start here. When you are, let me just cut straight to the point. The uniform that we wear, as priests, we wear a uniform. That uniform has been laid out and designated over centuries of time. Okay, centuries. This is not something that just rolled up. This is not just attached to the Roman Catholic Church. This is larger than that. This is what we consider part of our orthodoxy. This is older than the Catholic Church, though the Catholic Church has, for a larger degree, they have been consistent in capturing our uniform. And so when we wear the uniform, there is a way that the uniform has been prescribed to be worn for a specific and particular reason. And I think one of the things that bothers me, and I have no problem saying this, and those of you that are on, you know me, we can argue about this. I have no problems. Arguing is not a bad thing, okay? In larger theological circles, you argue a point, right? You're not arguing to be malicious. You're arguing to make sure that there's clarity. So I want to kind of start with having this conversation about us having a uniform. Because one of the larger contexts that we're dealing with when we talk about just simply the cross itself, the way that the cross is worn, the way that civic attire is worn, the way that your vestments are supposed to be worn, all of these things are done with a larger historical context. However, it's done at this level, especially at the bishopric. So for those of you that are bishops and apostles and all the stuff that you want to call yourself nowadays, and no shade, because I have no problems with it. I do have problems with it, but again, I'm not here to argue that. The argument is that we have a uniform, and in that uniform, think about this: the word uniform itself, uniform, right? Uniform, having only one shape. One more time, uniform. The word uniform is from two words, uniform, right? Having one shape. That means is that we can tell who you are, where you come from, and what you represent because you are showing us one shape. Not many shapes, one shape, one form, right? Only one form. So you can't tell me that if we have a uniform, only one form. One more time. If we have only one form, how is it that we have only one form, right? Supposedly, but then there are a whole lot of other variations of the form. That's not uniform, that's multiform. So how is it that we have multiform when we're supposed to have a uniform, only one form, right? And that only one form that we have represents the body, So when you are an episcopate, when you are a bishop, an overseer, right? Now I'm going to really hone in on bishops, because at the level of the bishopric, at the level of the episcopate, you should be upholding the standard instead of trying to make a standard. And say it again. You're supposed to uphold the standard, not create a new one. Because if you are truly a bishop in the Lord's church, you know historically what these vestments and what we wear, what it symbolizes, and why we wear what we wear. We're not drawing attention to ourselves, we're drawing attention to an ancient faith that should have some level, let's leave it there. We're drawing attention to our ancient faith. Even in these progressive times, we should still hold true to an ancient faith. So that means when we wear what we wear as a uniform, that means that we conform to the uniform. We conform to the standard that has been set as a precedent for us by the fathers of the church. Not so much the modern fathers, but again, the fathers, the original fathers of our church, of our faith. So whenever you start to make up new stuff, it's disrespectful to the historicity that we have directly attached to what we're supposed to uphold. Such as, when you wear Roman purple, don't call it fuchsia. It's not fuchsia, it's Roman purple. And it's called Roman purple, and I won't even go into that. If you don't know why it's called Roman purple, you shouldn't wear it. If you're a bishop and you're still calling it fuchsia and pink, you're disrespectful. You shouldn't be considered a bishop as far as I'm concerned. That's me. That's me. Because the larger context of Roman purple ties us to the presbytery of martyrs that came before us. To call it a fashioned color, to call it a color of a modern day fashion fad, causes us to be disrespectful to those that came before us. That's just in talking about color. So if you can still say fuchsia and pink, you shouldn't even be considered a bishop in the Lord's church. You're disrespectful. Facts. You can argue with me all day. Okay? So by the time we get to the pectoral cross, the reason why it's called a pectoral cross is because of where it's supposed to sit. It's a pectoral cross. It's supposed to sit in our pectoris, right here. Right? Now, that means that this cross is there not just to cover our heart, but it's also, I think it was Bishop Commune, who I don't know if he did it on purpose, but it also is the center of our heart. Right? It's right here. It covers our heart. It's the center of our heart. That's important. Not your hip. The only thing that's on your hip usually is a sword or a weapon. Now, some of you going to get real deep. That's why I got Jesus on my hip, because he's my weapon. No, he's not. Not at the level of the episcopacy. No, not at that level. At the level that we sit in the episcopacy, we sit here not to weaponize Christ. We sit here as example of him being the center of our heart, the reason why we live. In him we live, in him we move, in him we have our being. So again, that's the reason why it's called a pectoral cross. It sits, pectoris, right here in your chest, right here over your heart. And then ceremonially, there are different ways. I want to get into that. But there are ways that if you wear the cross, it covers your heart, and then you sit it right here. And again, it's hidden over your heart, right? That's in certain forms. There are certain times where you wear your cross out. There are certain times where you wear your cross, in. Sometimes you wear your cross out. Not here to argue that. But here's a larger context, and then I'm done. Here's a larger context, and I'm done. The larger context is this. Is that this is not just, I've seen people say that, well, this is a fashion statement, people making fashion statements. I don't think that that's the issue. I don't think that I don't think people that are doing this are making a fashion. I saw one brother who was very honest. He was basically saying, I did it because I saw others do it. I saw others do it of notoriety. So just because, let's make this first point, just because they're notable doesn't mean that they're correct. Say it again. Just because they're notable doesn't mean they're correct. My grandmother and those of you that are old school, they would tell us all the time, if you see somebody run off the cliff, you going to run off the cliff with them? So we got to stop sitting here copying what can't be credible. I'm not, no shade. I'm saying there's got to be a line where we stop doing stuff just because you saw somebody do it that is of notoriety. Just because they're notable doesn't mean they're credible in a specific area. Okay? And no shade on the bishop who said it. I thanked him on my post for his honesty. But I also want to be honest too. At some particular point, if you're a bishop, you should be more of a follower, should be more of a leader than a follower. Now, that's one point. I'm almost done because we're going to let y'all out of here. But I don't think that this is an issue of fashion statements or just copying alone. I think that, again, for me, this is an issue, two issues. The first one is that one of the issues that we're facing is that if you can mishandle the representation of the cross, there's a huge possibility that you might be mishandling the cross altogether. I'm gonna let that sit. Because I'm not saying that the person is, I'm saying that's what I'm starting to watch around the body of Christ, is that we are mishandling Calvary. We're mishandling the cross. And sometimes what we wear is an indication of what we do. I'm not blaming bishops. I'm telling every bishop on here, inbox me if you need to. We have a larger conversation. But the issue is, if you're a bishop and you can wear it wrong, then I'm questioning whether you're going to say it right. The mishandling of Calvary has been one of the mainstays of this modern church that literally is sickening. Everybody's sensitive. You can't call out sin. You can't say stuff about sin. You can't talk about, even to the point where people that have been in communion with me or communion classes with me, I tell people all the time, we're talking about a Christ who was beaten to the point where he looked like what I lived like. Which means I cannot talk about the beauty of life without dealing with the ugliness of sin. So we've mishandled the cross, we've mishandled Calvary, and we've mishandled the Christ. We've made Christ nothing more than a catchphrase within our sermons, a person to be believed and not known. Those of you that were with me in New England, we talked about that in our New England Synod, our Northeast Synod, that most of us, we are only relegated that we want to believe what we know instead of knowing what we should believe. And so this is not the fault of the people in the pews or even the pastors. This is the fault of those of us that consider ourselves episcopates. Our jobs as a bishop in the Lord's church is not about governing territories and all other stuff. Our primary assignment, the reason why bishops exist in the Lord's church, is for one reason. It is to protect the teachings and the life of Christ, the cathedra, the teaching seat of Christ, the seated position and posture of Christ, where all of our faith hangs and our salvific experience hangs. So if I can wear the cross wrong, there's a possibility that I'm mishandling the cross, not just in what I wear, but also in what I say. Second part, and then I'm done. The other thing that it speaks to is that if we can mishandle the cross, the other part of that is, this is not about the uniform anymore. This is about creating personal preference. This is about personal preference. And personal preference has no, quote unquote, has no place within the episcopacy. None. We can argue that all day too. None. Especially for our presentation. When you wear what you wear, if you have to we have personal preference in everything. Personal. So within your fellowships, no shade, you make up titles because you don't want to conform to what's here. So now you got to reinvent standards and stuff for people because of personal preference. So now you're doing extra stuff within the uniform for what? Personal preference. Because you want to make a statement instead of upholding a standard. That's just what it is. Everybody wants to do what they want to do. We're having a conversation, Evangelist Beverly Vaughn, we had a conversation while I was in the Northeast Synod, while I was back home in Connecticut. And we talked about the issue of casual membership versus covenant discipleship. So hang out with me for a second. That's the issue. Casual membership. When I'm a bishop in the Lord's church, as I am, duly consecrated, I am a member of the episcopacy. The word member really doesn't talk about a person in an organization. The etymology of the word member speaks to a part of the body. Hang out with me again. The proper etymology of the word member does not mean a person that's a part of an organization. That's a secondary consequence of the word member. But the primary etymology of the word member means to be a part of the body, like your arm is a part of your body. Your fingers are a part of your hand. Your hand is a part of your arm. Your arm is a part, right? Member, part of the body. But the word casual, and this hit us real hard in our synod in Connecticut. The word casual means to be unregulated. It means to be unregulated. It means, primarily means to be unregulated. So let me paint a picture to you. is that if I have an unregulated member of the body, right? One more time. If I have an unregulated member of the body, if my arm is not regulated by my body, then that means it seizes. It has seizures. So when you have a seizure, it means that whatever's happening in your body is unregulated by the body. Got it? So casual membership is basically saying that you're an unregulated member of the body, which means that you are a seizure waiting to happen. Let that sit with you. You're a seizure waiting to happen. So that means that if I'm a bishop and I'm wearing what I want to wear, you're a seizure waiting to happen. If you're a bishop preaching things that's outside of the text so you can get people and popularity as opposed to upholding the standard of purpose within the text, you're a seizure waiting to happen. There's a reason why we wear what we wear and why we wear it. And it's bigger than just clothing there. And I forgot who it was, but there are biblical precedents for why we wear what we wear. From wearing our ring on our right hand, from again the pectoral cross, from the colors that we wear. All of this stuff is biblical. And it's directly attached to what our assignment is as bishops and as episcopates in the Lord's church. My son John Connor's on here. And I know he gets mad at me at times, but there are times where we got to stop using vestments as fashion statements. If your garment is louder than the word that you preach, then you have no reason to wear it. Stop wearing stuff that's outside of the regulation just because it's nice to wear. See, that means that you're about personal preference. You're not about being a part of the body. I was a Marine. I was in the Marine Corps. I couldn't wear what I wanted to wear while I was in the Marine Corps. I had to wear, ready for this? I had to wear the uniform of the Marine. There was a certain way we had to wear fatigues. There was a certain way, or camouflage or our camis. There's a certain way we had to wear our camouflage. There's a certain way that we had to wear some of our dress blues. There was a certain way we would wear our class C's. There was a certain way that there were different uniforms for different times, but they were all uniform to the point where we knew that you were a Marine. You are a bishop, and some of you are presiding bishops, and you're letting people wear all kinds of stuff to the point where we don't know. We don't know who you belong to. When you wear your tippet, we can tell, okay, you belong to Church of God in Christ, or you belong to whoever, because there's a patch on your tippet that lets us know where you belong. But when you're in civic attire, it's the uniform of the priest, which means that we're supposed to know, we don't know nothing else about you. We know that you're a priest. If you're an overseer, we know that you're an overseer by the color of your breast. We know what your rank is, right? Based on the color of your breast. But if we took away all the colors, at minimum, you should be a priest. At minimum. And there are some of us that we struggle with wearing black because you're a bishop who has never been a priest. You're an overseer who has never been a priest. So I don't have a problem with wearing black. No shade. No problem wearing black because I was a priest. And a priest is about the character, the discipline and the portfolio that's directly attached to your life and your service. But if you always got to be in the color, there's usually a problem. For me, this is Sterling speaking. Clinton, Lincoln, Sterling, Davis II. This is me speaking. But if you always have to hide behind a color, it's usually because you have authority with no, sorry, I'm going there with y'all. But again, wanted to get on here and take these couple of seconds and challenge us to go back to being uniformed. Uniform. Only one form. Not deviations, only one form. If you can't apologize why you wear what you wear, you shouldn't wear it. And when I say apologize, I mean the apologia, the explanation that's attached to credible sources, not your latest revelation about what you think. How does this fit in the historicity of the church? How does this fit within the canons of Scripture? How does it fit? And if it does not fit, felt Johnny Cochran there. But if it doesn't fit, you must have quit. You got to cut it out. We are many members, one body. And the reason why the world looks at us crazy is because we say many members in one body, but you're highlighting your member, but you're a member that's unregulated by the body. The body regulates the members. Say it again. The body regulates the members. And if the body can't regulate the members, then we are a seizure. Your organization is a seizure. Your episcopacy is a seizure waiting to happen. Your pastorate is a seizure. Your diaconate is a seizure. Your eldership is a seizure. We're so concerned about our individuality that the body suffers because we're seizing. And remember, that's what I said, seizure. It's when a member of the body is unregulated. Casual membership, seizure. And what do they do when people have seizures? They have to lock the person down. They don't just lock the flailing member part down. They lock the whole person down that's seizing for two reasons. So they don't do harm to anybody else, but also so they don't do harm to themselves. Bishops, and even those of us that are presiding bishops, rope all of this stuff in so that we can present ourselves as one body, though we are many members. One body, but many members. The members who are regulated by the body. Members who are regulated by the body. Right? That's all I got for y'all. Thank y'all for hanging out with me. I appreciate y'all. Everything I said was said in love, but it was said in all seriousness. For those of us that are bishops, I'll say it again. Go back and check yourself. Check why you do what you do. Check why your organization exists. Check why your protocols exist. Check why you wear what you wear. And don't let other people, let me say this as a presiding bishop, no. And stop letting All the people that are under you wear what they want to wear when they're not in convocation. Check that. Because even in their churches, they represent you. They represent your organization. And they represent what you represent. Pull all of that in. That you trying to be, no, this is not about being legalistic. So all of you and religious, and y'all like to use the term religion wrong, which I think is the most ignorant thing in the whole wide universe. And that's 95% of the reason why the body's out of order right now, is because y'all keep preaching against religion when religion is not God's issue. That's a lie for another day. God is not angry with, God is a God of religion. Contrary to all of this foolishness that y'all say. And I said it. Inbox me if you need to. We can have a theological discussion about it. We have a God of religion. Period. Everything has a religion. Everything. The whole book of Genesis, the creation of the world, is about religion that y'all don't like to talk about because you can't. Because you want people that have anointings but also are anarchists. You can't be anointed and have no rules. So we have a God of religion. And that's why y'all can wear pectoral crosses on your hip, because you're an anarchist. Because you don't like religion. You don't like rules. You cannot have a standard without rules. Grab that in your philosophical leanings one day. You cannot have a standard without rules. Because all the standard is a succession of rules that have held something up, that it is true and it is right. So, get off my soapbox. I love you all. And I said what I said in love, but like I said what I said because I'm serious. Number one, if you're a bishop in a large church, check why you wear what you wear. Check why you wear what you wear. Don't put Jesus on your hip like you're weaponizing him. No, we wear him over our heart. We wear him, he covers our heart. He is our heart. It is Richard Smallwood who pens one of the greatest anthems in the world. Jesus, you're the center of my joy. All that's good and perfect comes from you. You're the heart, my contentment. You're the hope for all I do. Jesus, you're the center. Okay? So again, we don't have room for personal preference. We have a standard that has to be upheld. We have one form, uniform. We have one form, many members, one body. But our many members have to be regulated by the body. If not, we are an unregulated member of the body. Which means if we're unregulated by the body, we are a seizure waiting to happen. And we will do harm to ourselves and others. I love y'all. Have an amazing rest of your day.